Let's quickly talk about Blackpink and the word. So, we've seen videos, compilations before of, artists saying the word, Jay Park, others. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, right? I think of Kai when he wore dreadlocks for Coco Bop, and somebody on an interview said, "What's the story behind your hair?" And he's like, "Well, if I'm going to be singing a reggae song, I have to have the hair." And okay, I'm not going to sit here and argue whether or not, I think it's okay for K-pop idols to wear box braids and dreadlocks and stuff. I'm not going to sit here and argue about that. I'm not even going to sit here and argue on whether or not it's okay for people to say the N-word in a song or in a rap versus in day-to-day life. I'm not going to sit here and argue the semantics of one being okay versus the other not. I'm not going to sit here and do that. But we have to look at these things as they are and be candid about the fact that this is all cultural appropriation. It's honestly, for me, it's kind of disturbing to see these people study Black people, right? Literally study Black people, the way they talk, the way they move, the way they, act. Wrap it in a Korean bow, and then sell it to us, right? And while also excluding us, right? While also being very colorist and very racist. Not all of them, obviously, right? We're just talking about in general. I've seen enough videos of, people who are half Korean in Korea who experience the worst of the worst. Dirty skin, is your skin chocolate? Does it taste like chocolate? All that kind of ignorant stuff, right? I just think it's time that we all be very open and honest about the fact that your favorite idol watched some Black people, probably 90s Black people, rap, dance, and sing, studied it down to the science, the fashion, the fucking nomenclature, or what's the word called, the colloquialisms, and everything. Down to the word. Okay? And they've repackaged it and are now selling it to us. One of the last things I'll say is, how would you feel, if you're Hispanic, let's say, for instance, how would you feel if a bunch of, let's say, people in Europe, let's say people in Sweden, watched a few movies about Spanish culture, Chicana culture, and whatnot, learned some of your guys' music, learned Spanish, which, that's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. Learned Spanish, and then tried selling you guys Chicana culture and called it Swede pop. Would that be normal? Would you guys think that's normal? For some reason, it's completely normalized to take everything from Black people, to take everything from Black culture. It's 100% normalized. Makes no sense to me. And then, sometimes you do have Black artists who are writing these songs for them and whatnot. And they don't have even a pinch of the recognition that these people have. Shit, they probably, the singers and artists themselves probably don't even wouldn't even acknowledge their songwriters in a room. Wouldn't even give them a second thought. I think of the video of Lisa ignoring the black reporter who's like, oh, Lisa, like, do an interview with whatever fucking magazine he was working for. And she completely ignored him like he was a fucking shit stain. I think of Lisa stealing that dance from that black artist. And everybody's praising her, how well she dances, blah, 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 blah. And no recognition for the black artist at all. In fact, hate to that black artist. For even saying, hey, like, this is clearly my dance, like, blah, 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 blah. And people sent her hate for that. So it's like, at what point does it stop? At what point does it end? Does it ever? You know? Black culture is the only culture that every other person in the world gets to steal from or adopt from and then repurpose it, call it something else, and then sell it back to the masses. Boderic braids. What the hell are those? Black people didn't invent braids. The Vikings were wearing braids. Vikings were never wearing fucking goddess locks or fucking sister locks or box braids. If you find me a fucking photo of a Viking wearing box braids or Fulani braids, we can have a conversation. Find me anything in like the history of ever of a Viking wearing sister fucking locks. And I'll eat my words. So I'm just kind of tired. And I also realize that like rage bait is something else that people are using to like garner a lot of attention and like get sales, because attention is monetized. And so as long as you're paying attention to artists or whatever, that was the end goal. So I'm just going to talk about this for 7 or 8 minutes and just let it fly. I think it's disturbing. But I do like how I'm seeing people talk about it on TikTok, and they're finally acknowledging what black K-pop fans have been saying all along. These people, it's giving Vulture. I'm not going to lie. Especially, like in the beginning of BLACKPINK's career. Very much giving Vulture. And you can just see it and tell by people's speaking voice, right? What's that one girl's name? Jessie, right? Her speaking voice, like right when she debuted, was very, yeah, so the other day I went to Home Depot and blah, 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 blah. And now her speaking voice is, right, that's why I talk back like, like, I don't even talk like that. Like, hey, come on now. Jenny, her speaking voice is very, yeah, so next time we're going to, whatever fucking accent she has, like New Zealand or something like that. That's her speaking voice. And her rapping voice is, yeah, I be on the block on 10, on 12, doing what I said like that. Like, come on, bro. You don't, come on. If it was natural to them, their speaking voice would resemble their rapping voice. Lisa's the worst of the worst. Like, doesn't she have a song where she's like, I'm gonna, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're not even using the AAV correctly. Like, that's humiliating. And then her speaking voice is, yeah, so tomorrow when I go, White Lotus, like, come on. The speaking voice and the rapping voice has to match. It has to match. Doechie's speaking voice and rapping voice matches. Because that's her culture. End of story.